recall my initial first few weekends here as very, very tough to convince your mind to keep your foot down flat as you turn into a corner and you don't know what's on the other side. When you're out on the racetrack and you're at the ragged edge, it's just you and the race car. You're really looking for that rhythm, and the rhythm comes from hitting all your marks as a driver and having a car underneath you that gives you that confidence. To come here prepared and at peace with this racetrack, because if you let it get in your head, it makes for a very long week.
Hi everybody and welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's the Victoria Day Speed Fest weekend and the Pirelli World Challenge Championships at CTMP. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish. And Cal, obviously for all of our viewers, our plan here was to bring the second race of the weekend here, round 4 of the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championship, to all of our viewers, pretty much in its entirety, with a look at the round that was run yesterday. But as you can see, folks, and Cal, looking at what's out there right now, the stewards actually went out on a track exploration lap, and what they discovered has made them change their mind about being able to run.
Well, the forecast all week, Greg, has been for rain here on Sunday, and it's become real, and it's really torrential right now. There's just too much puddling out there. The water's too deep. The cars would aquaplane with these front splitters on the race cars. Visibility is an issue, too, with the amount of spray we'd see. So there's no other decision to make. It's very disappointing for everyone. It's been a big weekend. Everyone's excited for this second round of the weekend to happen this afternoon, but it's not going to happen now. We'll have to reflect on yesterday, which was a great one. Yeah,
lakes and rivers, and I think part of the issue is there was some water deep enough that they were concerned the splitters would dig into it, and that could have been catastrophic. So certainly I think the right call here, but it's unfortunate, obviously, as you pointed out. You want to see as much racing as you can. I'm sure this will actually not be so much canceled as it will be postponed. They'll add another round to one of the races down the road. We're hearing talk that it might be at Utah, which makes it a triple header there, which will be fun there, but you hate to not have a shot to race at a track like this.
Well, particularly for the guys who are quick here this weekend. You go to Utah, you might not have the same advantage. You'll have the grid position. I think they'll line up from the grid for this race here today, but you might not have the same car working as well around here. So for some guys, good news if they're struggling this weekend. For others, not so good.
Yeah, not so good at all. So as we said, unfortunately, this round, the 4th round of the championship, has been postponed. However, instead of just bringing you highlights of our first round of the weekend, or round 3 of the championship, we're now going to let you enjoy our entire call of that race as it unfolded. And what we're going to do now is pick it up with the Porsche track preview that we were able to enjoy with Pat Long.
We're north of the border, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. This is Patrick Long with another Porsche track preview with Replay XD. Turn 1, you're already into brave off-camber high-speed corners. As you can see here, it's white walls to either side, lots of grass and lots of speed. Turn 2, 115 miles an hour, 5th gear, completely blind. You carry as much speed in, back to throttle early. You're compromising the exit, so you're set up for the approach to turn 3. This is bumpy, it's dual apexes, and then you run the white line all the way on the exit, trying to carry as much speed as possible. Next thing is turn 4, almost flat out when you have a clear track. In this case, GTS car up ahead. You have to pick your battles on where you overtake here. One wrong move and it can end the day for both race cars, or even worse. 5B, a traction corner, one of the few places where you brake. You're now onto the Andretti straightaway. It's very unique because it's bending, it's ascending, it's blind. You're in the forest. You just kind of keep your foot down and hope that it's clear on the other side. This track is not for the faint of heart. Turn 8, very quick approach, just at the top of the hill, a light brake, down 1 gear, down another 4th gear, back to throttle, keeping the car tight to the right. You're almost through the lap. Turns 9 and 10, it's patience, it's bumpy. The final corner, it's a late apex, and then you use all the road on the exit. 1 lap here goes by fast. It's treacherous, but it's very rewarding.
Well, that is an incredible ride. Looking forward to how the race is going to unfold here today. Now let's get to our Pirelli keys to the race. And Cal, really, I think the first one is you have to execute the SprintX format. This is a new era. A lot of the teams dealing with some new procedures here. What do they have to do?
Well, the race goes from a 50-minute sprint event to a 1-hour race with a mandatory pit stop between the 25 and 35-minute mark. So you've got to do that pit stop within that window. The key is, when do you take it? I think if you've got good track position, you're probably going to come early. If you've got poor track position, you may roll the dice. Driver change has to happen, no tire changes, and then you have to be on pit line for 60 seconds for the Pro class. It's 90 seconds for Pro-Am. You've got to get that right. We saw a few teams at VIR run afoul of that regulation.
Yeah, they've actually put up some very clear signage at each of that pit in and pit out point that you've got to do the timing off of on that one. And I think another key to the race here is specific to Pat Long and that Wright Motorsports team. It was here last year after he had all those problems and his team had folded that he joined Wright. He came in, swept the weekend, and got him back on track to almost win the championship. He needs that kind of a weekend here.
He does. They're awfully strong. They're going to be starting from the pole, and that's because Alex Riberas had a lap record under his belt and then went off the road, caused a red flag. The car sees no further action. That's a big blow to that team. R. Ferry in the championship. Local race for those guys. They will not be starting this one, and it gives Pat Long the pole, gives him the bonus point, and gives him the momentum he needs right now to try and chase after Alvaro Parent in the point standings, who's having a bad weekend here.
Absolutely, and one of the things, looking at this track, local track knowledge and the like, that team certainly had it. Is there anybody else you're going to be looking at here in terms of somebody that could really make an impression?
Well, we talked about momentum. Daniel Morad has that with the CRP team. They are coming off a victory at VIR, he and Ryan Dial. He has local knowledge. He loves this place. He's won a couple of championships here over the year. Look for him to impress once again today.
Yeah, he was spectacular at Virginia International Raceway. Let's move now to our Motul Pole Award. We already talked about it on pole. Pat Long doing the job in that number 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche Consulting Porsche, zipping around here in a 1-minute 15.221 second lap. Pretty remarkable time. Congratulations to them. Well, that sort of sets the stage. Now it's time for us to get down to the front of the grid where Jeff Lepper is ready, and it is time for that most famous command in motorsports.
Well, down here to start the SprintX round here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and to give those command, NAFTA Motorsports Manager from Pirelli Tire North America, Orazio Mastraccio.
On behalf of Optima Batteries, Pirelli Tire, drivers, start your engines.
Well, there we go, Greg and Cal. It's going to be a great race here for SprintX at Canada.
And the Cadillac ATSV pace car makes the move away from the front of the grid, established here in pit lane, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and the field now follows suit behind the Cadillac ATSV. A big thank you to Cadillac, of course, for their continued strong support of this championship. And it was interesting, a lot of developments that have unfolded, Kel, in qualifying, and we have to start with kind of a bummer of a note. The R. Ferry Motorsport Ferrari was absolutely flying, looked like they might lock up a pole at a home race. Everything looked to be going that way, and then a big incident.
Devastating. I mean, Alex Riberas was on a flyer. He just laid down the fastest lap of qualifying, a new track record, got into turn 3, just got out too wide, ran over the curb, heavy impact, tore up the left front of the monocoque there on the Ferrari. They will not see further action this weekend. What a blow to R. Ferry Motorsports. Their local track, of course, massive crowd they're going to have here in terms of their supporters this weekend. And for Alex in the championship, it really knocks the heart out of it, because to have 2-0 scores from this weekend will affect the SprintX championship, the overall championship. He is one unhappy boy here this morning.
Indeed, and it's truly unfortunate. Had they been able to repair the car, that track record and pole would have gone away, because there's a rule, if you cause a red flag, your fast lap is gone. As a result, the guy who dominated last year's sprint race here, that 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche in the hands of Patrick Long, he now gets the track record. He was underneath it as well, and will start P1 on the field. Now here's a look at our Motul race analysis. The track just under 2.5 miles in length, and it has 10 counted corners. We've got a big field that's going to be attacking it today. It should be interesting, and it is cool out there, so heating those tires is probably going to be a key component. And there, fortunately, we also have the Escalade Medical Response Vehicle. Again, a big thanks to the folks at Cadillac, and we will be right back to take you to the start here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. And by the Cadillac V-Series, the first ever 464 horsepower Cadillac ATS-V Coupe and Sedan, and the third generation 640 horsepower Cadillac CTS-V Super Sedan.
Welcome back, everybody, as the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships take to the track here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And before we do go green flag racing, we want to take a look at our quad box, which is a sampling of some of the remarkable onboard cameras and views that are supplied by Replay XD. It is superb video. You are going to enjoy what you see, and here's just a look at a few of them. And I think another big story here is the car that will start 5th overall. Fastest car, top qualifier in the Pro-Am category, the 75 AIM Autosport, always evolving Nissan GT-R GT3, Frankie Montecalvo put down a great lap. And if you remember last year, Heitkotter and Davison were pretty quick here in that car. And this is an upgraded version.
Yeah, I spoke to the team just about an hour ago, and they said the new car is even better. So they're in great shape.
You saw the lights out on the Cadillac ATS-V pace car and safety car, which means we are going racing. And looking forward to that. Remember, folks, 60 minutes and not 50, 2 drivers per car. And if there are no yellows at the 25-minute into the race mark, a 10-minute pit window opens up, mandatory driver change, and we'll get into that a little bit more once the race gets going. But we are looking forward to this one. They're about to head into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, and Pat Long and Daniel Murad on the front row. They will take us down into a daunting series of corners that starts the lap here and frankly finishes it.
Pat will want to get the jump here, because if Daniel can hang tough around the outside through turn 1, he'll then have the inside line for turn 2. So he was brilliant at VIR. Look at him, he's trying to jockey for position here. If he can get on the power equally with Pat Long here, this could be a shootout into turn 1. Look at that, almost trading pain.
So close, and we're green. We are racing at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Long down to the inside, but as you said, Murad trying to stay put around the outside, realized, all right, if I stay there now, I'm going to run wide. That could be catastrophic. Wisely tucked right in. O'Connell slots into 3rd.
Yeah, good start. You see the Bentley there of Fong. He's in the 4th position. Nice start for Brian Sellers.
Yes,
he's up to 5th around Montecalvo. But you could see Morad. He tried to hang it to the outside there, and he just got a little bobble there. Had to lift momentarily, and that allowed Pat Long to get the position. Now he's making it stick. He's really stretched the gap here down into turn 4.
I think it'll be interesting here. One of the things here in this cool weather, the Porsche with that engine back over the drive wheels, it tends to get good heat in those tires, I think a little bit quicker than some of these other cars. And Pat senses that. I think he's saying, let's go. I want to build a little bit of a gap here before everybody gets their tires up to temp and thus correct operating pressures.
What a sight that is. Beautiful to watch them come up the Andretti straightaway here. Pat Long leads here, nice healthy gap. He can just hit his marks here. He doesn't have to defend. That Cadillac has shown strong straightaway speed here. O'Connell up into the brake zone.
Talking to Johnny about the approach to this turn, turn 8, he said, it's a breathe on the brake, snick it down a gear, flat chat, right up until you hit the brakes into turn 9. This place, they said now in these cars, much like we used to see in the prototypes, is, who's that? Oh, the 007, that's the TRG Racing Aston Martin in the pits, Drew Riggets and Chris Wilson.
Wilson had a nice qualifying run in this car as well.
So the crew
Some
working
kind of
on
leak, I think, because you can see him cleaning the windshield there.
But as Johnny, yeah, they were just talking about that. If you look now at a trace, a data trace that shows only throttle and brake, this place now in these cars also presents as 3 corners. It's that insane.
It's amazing. Just the downforce that these GT3 cars create is immense. Nice look there at James Sofronis, who's having a strong run in SprintX competition this year. Got Morans Van Tor driving with him this weekend, and Matt Halliday is going to be taking over from Lime Rock on.
There's the number 31, the 3R Racing entry. That is the Ferrari, and of course Daniel Mancinelli put the car in pole in the first sprint race of the season as an AM-rated driver, and they realized, oh, we need to do a little more research. He got bumped up to pro. But the problem is that he's got a different now co-driver than he did when they won at VIR with Andrea Montermini. He's got a young Italian, Nicolo Chirot, who's driving along with him here. There's the 16 of Mike Shine, the team car to Pat Long's race and overall leading entry. That is Mike Shine now leading in GTA. He was able to, actually he's right up behind the leader in GTA, still Frank Montecalvo in the Nissan.
Mancinelli had a really good practice session here. He led one of the timesheets. We see one of the Acura's jockey for position down this front straightaway, and I think everyone got caught out a little bit when Riveros went off and crashed heavily yesterday, brought out the red flag. We lost a good chunk of qualifying. I think there were cars further back on the grid like Mancinelli who may have been a bit further up if they'd had time.
Yeah, keep your eye, I think, here as this race unfolds on that number 16 Wright Motorsport car, because last year when they showed up here, and that was the race when Pat Long joined Wright Motorsport, came out and had that dominant weekend, but what really got our attention was Mike Shine in a couple of the races was lapping within a second of Pat's times. Mike gets around this place real well.
Yeah, it was a really strong qualifying performance by him, up into the 7th spot for the starting grid here today by an AM driver, so that was sensational. Obviously, Frankie had the pole for Pro-Am, but nonetheless, Michael Shine is just so consistent, so strong. He's got Jan Halen as his co-driver. He's going to be really tough in that Porsche here, because the Pro-Am car gets a little bit different BOP to the regular Pro Porsche in this field.
It's early on in the running here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships. We'll be right back with a lot more.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Motul, official lubricant of the Pirelli World Challenge. And by Porsche, there is no substitute.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships Round 3 underway. Pressuring for that top 5 as we go back to the front, and Pat Long at margin now up to 1.8 seconds. He is doing everything he can to try and build a little bit of a margin. He's got the gap back to Murad, who has opened up a similar margin to Johnny O'Connell. So
Yeah.
that top 3 is kind of spread out a little bit.
Yeah, they're in a different league right now in terms of fast lap times. I mean, Pat Long has it right now at 1:16.6, got Murad at 1:16.7, Johnny at 1:17.3, and I can't see anyone else bar Cooper in the 17 range. Cooper starting from the back, having had problems, technical difficulties in qualifying. First was an electronic issue. They had to come to the pit lane, reset the electronics. Then he had some kind of vibration in the braking area of the car, so didn't set a time. And he's starting at the back of the pack with a lot of work to do, but has speed. Run a 1:17.8.
Yeah, he's already worked his way up through about half the field. So a great opening few laps for Michael Cooper at this stage. They had one of those races at the end of it at VIR, and you're just shaking your head as they leave the pits for the outlap. The car stalls. They manage to get it back into the pits. He leaves to go racing as the field is completing the first lap, and at the end of it, they're top 3.
Yeah, that was amazing. Just a great performance.
It was.
And, great job by his teammate Jordan Taylor. He got the Taylor boys in, GM factory drivers, filling in for those extra drivers for the Cadillac squad. But big news just came out this morning. Jörg Bergmeister, who's been co-driving with Pat Long at VIR and this weekend, he's busy next weekend for the Lime Rock round. It's going to be Mark Lieb, who's our current WEC LMP1 world champion, current Le Mans winner overall. So we talk about this SprintX Championship and the type of guys you're going to compete against. Well, you've got a world champion joining us next weekend.
It doesn't get much better than that. And I mean, just the depth of this field in terms of driving talent just makes you shake your head a little bit. Here's that battle we're talking about. Sellers down into Moss in the blue and black McLaren and the teal and black Nissan right on his 6. And then here's the battle, the number 14 you talked about, James Sofronis, starting to feel pressure from the number 4 Magnus Audi in the hands of Pierre Caffer.
Yeah, and talking
They're
to the
hungry
Audi,
too, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Magnus boys thought they'd be strong here this weekend, but they just got here this week and suddenly realized, like, up this part of the straightaway, they just don't have it compared to some of the others, so it's been frustrating them a little bit. And that's why they qualified so far back. They said the car's good, it feels good, we just don't have pace. So it's hard for the drivers and the engineers to work together. You see a Canadian in the field, Mark Wilkins, doing battle here with the second of the Bentleys. Acura's a little bit better here, but still needs some speed, Greg, to find the front end of the grid.
Yeah, they said they just struggle. The car is really pitch sensitive is what they told me, and just getting it to really work everywhere is the issue. Michael Cooper, well, that Vector Blue Cadillac seems to be working everywhere as he continues to march his way up through the field. He's now 13th, Cal, from the back of the pack, essentially. That's just a fabulous run.
And he's got a good run here on the Momo machine. Look to go to the inside. Door is just cracked, and he takes it nicely. He's got speed, he's got balance in the Cadillac, and we're seeing that with Johnny O running 3rd in the Velocity Red Cadillac, of course, right now.
That was a smart move by Tyler McQuarrie, realizing that wasn't a battle for a class position and just let him go.
Caffer looking for the over-under there.
And Cooper trying to over-under them both.
Sofronis hanging on. He realized he's got to hang on, just keep that car in a strong position. He's got an awesome teammate. Laurens Vanthoor is just sensationally quick in one of these Porsches. He'll handle the second half of this race. Yeah, you see the Cadillac. There's the straightaway speed I'm talking about, the Audi to the Caddy.
Take a look here as they come up and through, give you an idea of the difference.
Cooper tried to hang tough around the outside, but Caffer was having none of that.
Yeah, it was 165 by Cooper, 160 by Caffer.
Looking to the inside. I saw no overtaking opportunity here at Motorsport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. He wouldn't have done it many years ago, Greg. Now everyone thinks it's their favorite spot. Turn 10.
The only problem is that if you're in a multi-car scrap and you're in the middle of it, if you make that attempt into 10 and it goes wrong for you, you're just parked on the exit. So you got to be timing it just the right way here. But yeah, Cooper knows he's got pace, and he knows he doesn't want to waste time, does he?
No, he can't afford to waste time. And the other thing that you got to factor in at some point in this race, that's really down to the team working with the driver, find some space and lay down a fast lap time. Don't get bottled up with the pace of everyone else if you're quicker, because remember, fast lap today determines grid position for race 2, and that is on everyone's mind.
It's an interesting dynamic at St. Pete. J.D. Davison ended up, after a brilliant race, with some unbelievable passes to make it to the podium in the first race, started well back in the field in the second one. We talked to him, he said, I was so embroiled in battles I could never actually get a fast lap. And that's something that everybody, I think, is really, as you said, paying attention to. Look at Cooper hunting here once again, and I'll tell you, that Momo NGT Ferrari in a straight line, that's the Ferrari 458 Italia GT3 car. It's plenty quick in a straight line.
Yeah, he's got good speed, and we talked about Alex Riberas' problems in qualifying. Well, I think the goal at this point in time for Lime Rock next weekend, there's no time to get that primary chassis fixed. They may be switching to the 458 if it survives this weekend. The hand of Muzzo and Borchella. Great to see Terry in the championship as the pro in the Pro-Am combination there.
It sure is. Currently 8th in the Pro-Am category right now in the 013. And just a delight to see Terry walking through a paddock in World Challenge again. He's got a pretty good history with this. And every time Monte Carlo, and we're watching that pitch battle we've been following for this 5th spot between that number 6 McLaren of Brian Sellers from K-Pax Racing and the Nissan from A Motorsport and Always Evolving of Monte Carlo. Every time Monte Carlo gets to him, Brian is able to get a gap, but now we have got traffic in the mix, and this can have such a huge effect here. There's a lot more yet to unfold here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but we're going to take an opportunity to step away. Don't go anywhere.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Nissan. Innovation that excites. By Case-It. Products to work smarter, not harder. Learn more at CaseIt.com. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
Right back to the action here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships at CTMP. And look at this, just an aggressive move by Michael, timed it to perfection. Now going to try and duck underneath the CrowdStrike Global Motorsports Group GTS McLaren of George Kurtz. Does that nice and clean. It looks like Kaffer may have had to breathe it for a minute.
He did.
Yeah.
Michael gaps in big time by that. You just can't overcommit, Greg. You really have to be careful around this place. It is so high speed, so treacherous if you get it wrong. Clip someone in these high speeds. It's really, most of it is high speed, but you got turn 5 and turn 10, of course, slow things down a little bit. Otherwise, the average speed would be outrageous. You see Brent at the bottom half of the top 10 sitting in 9th. Not a good day for our championship leader with the guys right behind him in the points, Pat Long leading.
Well, and Cooper just turned a 119.4. Brent's last lap, a 120.9. So Cooper definitely, Michael has the bit between his teeth here, and now he can see the back wing of that number 9 K-Pax McLaren, and he knows the point score here as well. He's coming.
He is, and we also know that Alvaro and Michael always seem to end up on the racetrack together.
This is true.
A lot.
Well, in the sprint championship right now, Cooper is out front of Alvaro. In the overall championship, he's about 4 spots back. So this is big in terms of that overall season championship, which the full season sprint and SprintX guys certainly are going for.
Yeah, I mean, I relate it to the Tour de France, do you know what I mean, in terms of you want to win the yellow jersey, which is the overall championship, but certainly there's a lot at stake in terms of some teams just running the SprintX championship. Some guys will now be focused on maybe just the sprint championship. Someone like Alex Riberas with the heart knocked out of his weekend and the championship year potentially, he may now just focus on the sprint weekends in terms of a title.
So essentially in the GT ranks this season, you've got 3 different championships you can chase essentially. And right now we have been watching, the speed of Michael Cooper coming up through the field and the solid pace of Johnny O'Connell up at the front sitting in 3rd. Right now, Jeff Lepper, things are looking pretty good for the Cadillac camp.
It is 3rd for O'Connell, like you said, but Michael Cooper, the problems yesterday, really not able to get a lap, not a really problem, but he's on a roll today.
Yeah, we were really bummed when we got the car back out. We had 10 minutes left of the qualifying session. We were like, that's fine, we'll get out, we'll get a good lap. And then, of course, the red flag happened, so everyone got called in and they ended the session early. But, you know, that just makes our drivers more determined. He gets in behind the back of the field, his eyes are on the prize, and he's driving the best he can. So hopefully we'll see him get up in the top 5. That's what we're, you know, hoping to see, and you never know how this race will go, especially with all the red flags that have been happening.
Of course, with Jordan Tater getting behind that wheel as well during the pit stop, that's going to be another exciting drive at the end of this race, too.
Oh, no question about it. Right now, you've got Cooper, a 2-time World Challenge champion, but in the touring car and GTS division, closing on the defending GT champion here, and he's what, well more than half that gap.
Yeah, well, he's taken about 3/4 of a second out of that gap on the last 2 laps, so that's why he's now right on Pirelli's tail. That Cadillac has really been working well. Talking to some of the other teams, they said the Cadillac seems to have an extra like pop when they do the gear shift here, so they've been tweaking on those electronics a little bit.
Well, and that's the you know, since with the GT3 platform and the homologation, you can't go through and modify a lot of other components, so you look at absolutely maximizing or optimizing is the word that you tend to hear a lot, everything you possibly can on those cars, just in search of that 100th of a second.
Well, at this level, Greg, I mean, and the level is so high now in the SprintX Championship in terms of the teams, the manufacturers involved, and then you look at the co-drivers that have been brought in to assist the primary guys for the season. It's immense, and you've got to be ticking all of the boxes. So the teams are working hard. I mean, we talk about this pit stop that's going to be coming up here in about 7 minutes, potentially at the 35 minutes mark to go. You'll see that pit window open, so we're at 42, so another 7 minutes, and that pit stop window should open up, and then that's got to be done correctly. You can't afford to leave any time on the table. It's a certainly 60-second delta you got to have for the Pro, 90-second for Pro-Am, and you want to cut that as close as you can. And talking to a lot of the teams, they said the Cadillac boys were cutting it real close, like within 2 or 3 tenths. They got something down in terms of how they're analyzing that data on pit lane and maximizing it to its true extent.
Well, it's also taking every, as you said, in terms of the driver change procedures itself, including the JT Boutte concept of taking your seat insert and just stuffing it down the back of your overalls.
Yeah.
That saves you half a second, maybe.
It does.
It's just unbelievable what they've been doing here.
Less things to go wrong. I mean, there's
Yes.
a couple of teams had problematic driver changes. They're not in a routine yet. You can practice, but in the heat of the battle, it's a whole different pressure situation, and it can cost you valuable time. You got that 30-second, essentially, when you're parked in your pit box. It's about 25 seconds to drive down pit lane, so the team's got about 35 seconds to stop the car, get the driver change done, so it should be plenty of time. But if you get a seatbelt underneath you and stuff, it can suddenly eat into that clock really, really quickly.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick opportunity to jump away, because when we come back, pit stops will commence shortly thereafter. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Replay XD. Life's in HD. Replay it. And by Honda Performance Development, Honda's North American racing company.
Welcome back, everybody. And one of the key moments of the new SprintX Championship format is about to unfold. The pit window is open.
It really can, and we're seeing Morad has hit the pit lane. So Nick Short on the other end of the stick now. Here comes Sellers. The only way this can backfire, Greg, is if you suddenly come out and you're hitting a big bundle of traffic.
Right.
You're now going to be on pit lane, essentially 60 seconds, plus the slow and speed up time, as we now got DL on pit lane, getting in there, the number 2, Jeff.
Yeah, Ryan DL sliding himself into this Mercedes. The winner's last out at VIR. As you see, the only driver is there. The other driver has to get him, as one of the Ferraris is coming in right here behind us with Mancinelli. But Ryan Sellers back on pit lane as well in the K-Pax McLaren 650S as Print comes in as well. Barnacote out of the car, Print going in.
All right, watching this stop complete here.
Tire pressure changes can be made. Got him fired up. In essence, he should be stationary about 35 seconds. I'm understanding from the teams it's about 24, 25 second pit lane delta, as we call it. The difference between being on the racetrack and the time it takes to come down pit lane.
And you see how tight these stalls can be, obviously, and he was able to sneak out around.
Oh, look at this.
This is a drag race.
Well, I don't quite understand this, because Perrin came in a long way behind Sellers, so either something went amiss on that driver change, or the 6 car was way more conservative in that 60-second mark, because they nearly got jumped there by Barnacote.
That's going to be interesting to see what that plan is here. And here is the 013 Mark Muzzo in and turning over to Terry Borchler, Jeff.
Borchler getting into that car, trying to get the belt set up for here. And remember, this is a Pro-Am, so they do have a longer pit delta. They can take their time here getting into the car, so they don't have to rush out within that 60-second delta, Cal.
Yeah, it's a 90-second scenario here for them. So it gives them a little bit more time to be able to deal with. Looking at some of these pit stop times here on the monitor and watching the battle here on the track. The interesting thing here, we did not see O'Connell pit, did we?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because
Perent's was 61 seconds, Brian Sellers was 64, so they left a good 3 seconds on the table. 3.5 seconds, that's why they came out, because Sellers had about a 4-second lead. So it was now Johnny Kane behind the wheel, of course, and Barnicoat in the K-Pax, and we now see our leader in.
Yep,
Morad's time was awful. 73 seconds for Morad. That's going to cost them track time when this thing cycles through and everyone's made their pit stop.
And here we go, Long into the pits. And there comes Jörg Bergmeister off the wall, and Jeff is ready.
Yeah, Jörg Bergmeister made that big leap. He's so tall, it was like 2 steps to get over to the car there as Patrick Long jumps out, going to assist him, pulls the pad out, throws it over there as they try to get the belts hooked up. They got to get the radios hooked up. There's a water bottle. There's a lot to do in that 60-second time. It may seem like an eternity, but when you're doing one of these driver changes, it takes forever.
Yeah, well, I tell you what didn't take forever is the Pappas to Bleekemolen drive change. I see 89 seconds flat. That needed to be 90. That's a problem.
That is a big problem. That is a drive.
Cut it too tight. That will be a problem if the
There's
stewards
that car right there. Yeah. Look, Barnicoat flashing the lights at Johnny Kane. Johnny Kane, a few years of experience on young Ben Barnicoat. I'm sure he's looked in the mirrors going, right, lad, calm it down now.
For both these guys coming here, it is an eye-opener when you come to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the very first time.
Now Johnny comes in, but tell you what, I think he got held up in that traffic a little bit. He might lose some time here.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this cycles through when everyone's made that stop. They've got to make it within the next 5 minutes, 25 to 35 minutes into this race distance, as we're seeing the clock count down, of course, on your screen. The Cadillac boys supposedly are cutting it tighter than anyone.
There's Johnny O, Ricky Taylor off the wall. I wonder if they didn't leave Johnny out maybe 1 lap too long, because he got caught up in some traffic as he was making his run into the pits. Jeff?
Yeah, saw a few shaking heads down here just about that object. When the car came to a stop, though, the stopwatch started. They get this down to the millisecond in Cadillac. Everything is planned, so I got to think they have a strategy for leaving Johnny O'Connell out. No matter what we can see on TV, they know what they're doing down here at Pratt Miller and Cadillac Racing.
That they do. This is a team that has executed on so many different levels to huge success in endurance racing and in sprint racing.
See what it is, minute 101, 102.1. So yeah, it was tight, but not as tight as we'd seen. But another red one on the board, Greg.
Yep.
Frankie Montecalvo and Ricardo Sanchez, 129.6. They have 4/10 under the minimum delta. They're going to get dinged.
And they have been pretty oh, and there's an off. It's Parent or Barnicoat.
Wow, that's
taken over
10.
from Parent. Yep. Yellow flags flying. Here's a look at it.
Take a look. Oh, he gets to the inside and he just gets turned there. Right.
That's Chiraud, I think. Nicolas Chiraud.
Just a stack up there in traffic. I don't think it was intentional. Just suddenly everything came to a halt at the apex. And our championship leader has got damaged. Look, the rear wing is broken on the left rear stay. You can see it just floating in the wind there, the main plane.
Yep, and the left front, significant damage there as well. It did the double impact.
See there, Brian Sellers and Alvaro Parent just discussing the start of this race. I wonder if Alvaro even realizes right now that Barnicoat's out.
Well,
we talked about SprintX and talk about the pit window. What happened? We had a yellow interrupt both of these weekends now.
That's a very good point, and you know, the fact is that we're still in that pit window. So there's
Take another look at it. Barnicoat to the inside, and Chiraud just got a little bit too aggressive there, tried to dive down and just didn't time it. Just too impatient, I feel.
Well, I don't think he accounted for the fact that that tightened radius that Barnecoat had, he was going to have to slow a little bit more than he normally does, and just tagged him.
I've got a feeling the steward's going to have a good look at that one.
Yep. I suspect so here. It looks like we are going to, I think we are going to have a full course caution, obviously. You've got not a lot of runoff over there in turn 10 at this point, as Parent having an animated discussion down in pit lane. And in fact, yes, the safety car has now come out and picked up the field here. And at a certain point, you just have to pick up the first car you can get to in these situations, which is that 007 Aston Martin.
Everyone has made their mandatory pit stop, Greg. Everyone has been in the pit stop. Pits at least once. Ari has been in twice. The 019 car, he had an earlier stop, so.
But the interesting thing here is those two GT-Am cars, or Pro-Am cars, I should say more accurately, whose times, and they were two of the front runners, whose times may be problematic. The Cadillac is in. Cooper is out, Jeff.
We talk about the superb drive that Michael Cooper put on in this Cadillac ATS VR. He jumps out. Jordan Taylor coming in. They're putting the belts on there. They still want to make that 60-second time, but under the yellow here, perfect scenario for Michael Cooper. Superb drive for this Cadillac racing team.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
because
it timed out beautifully.
Yeah, it's going to be giving the lead, I believe.
And
wow,
if
the brakes.
If they time this stop correctly, yeah, they're going to have the lead. Got in, stayed out, got in under caution.
Yeah, that was awesome.
They've done it again.
And yeah, they've done it again. You got that spot on, and they just rolled the dice the other way. They didn't have good track position, so they rolled the dice and kept him out there, and they just timed out perfectly. Everyone had hit pit lane, and then he got to do it where the field is going slow, so you're not getting caught as quickly by guys being on the green flag running.
Well, we're deep into the action here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but there's a lot left. We'll be back with it. Stay with us.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Bentley, official luxury vehicle of the Pirelli World Challenge, by BRM, and by Eibach, the world leader in high-performance suspension.
Right back to the action here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships at CTMP. Well, we're getting reports from the Cadillac camp that they saw the Wright Motorsports, one of the drivers, throw the seat insert over the wall. And so I don't know, be honest with you, in terms of rule, I don't know if there's something that prevents that, but there's a lot of chatter of complaining right now from the Cadillac pits at this stage. So interesting stuff, what's unfolding here. So now that we've pretty much completed the lap, still under caution here, it shows the number 8 of Jordan Taylor leading, and by a bunch at this stage, 2 minutes and 18 seconds. That's essentially a lap under caution. That's how big it is. Then the number 58 in the hands now of Jörg Bergmeister. Then the number 3 Cadillac of Ricky Taylor sitting in 3rd. The 88 Bentley, Vincent DeBrille in 4th. And the number 2 De Vilbius CRP Mercedes of Ryan Dial sitting in the 5th spot. In 6th, the McLaren, number 6 now in the hands of Johnny Kane. 7th, the 31 Ferrari, Nicolo Chiro. In 8th, Pierre Caffer, he would have stepped out, and it is indeed Spencer Pumpelly now up and into the number 4. In 9th, the 93 now in the hands of Mark Wilkins. The Acura from real time and completing the top 10. Jan Halen in the 16, which is now leading. That is the Wright Motorsport Porsche leading in GTA, and we're getting reports we're going green this time.
Well, in other forms of competition, sometimes they do a wave by if you're trapped behind the safety car and the leader in your class. They're not doing it here, of course, so that means that this 8 car, and this is going to be a different scenario for Jordan Taylor. It's like, weave your way through traffic, take zero risks. Got 20 seconds to burn off that clock, and the victory will be yours, because he has essentially got about a 2-mile lead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're lapping, let's say at a 117, so your lead safely is well over a minute, so you can be conservative when you're working traffic and give up a second or two if you need to. And of course, for everybody that is looking at the scoring and recognizing this scenario, as you said, everybody's going, oh, come on, let's do a wave by. But you have to wave by essentially the entire field at this stage.
Bergmeister has had success here before.
Oh boy,
LMS competition. But, I'm sure he was thinking he was going to be pushing for a victory unless something bizarre happens.
And it did. All right, the Cadillac ATS-V pace and safety vehicle makes its move away. And when we get up into turn number 9, we'll be in the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone. And at that point, once you're in that zone, the car that's leading you into it can roll into, can't do a brake check and go, but can roll into the throttle whenever they want. And he's got a Pro-Am car behind him, Jörg does, in Enrique Cisneros, so he's got a little bit of breathing room. Johnny O immediately looks to the inside, and he's not close enough to attack Enrique Cisneros in the Ferrari down into turn 1. And Jörg is just going to drop the hammer here.
Yeah, he's going to try and make hay while he can. Ricky Taylor now got to get into the rhythm, of course. All of these co-drivers now just trying to find their feet, so to speak, in terms of what the track grip has given them. There you see DL very much in the middle of the pack, trying to put the pressure on Abril. Was taken up from Adderley Fong, who did a great opening stanza in the Bentley. Kind of his home track, I guess, for Adderley Fong. He's born in Vancouver, so...
That's true, that's a good point.
Canadian, I guess.
Born in Vancouver, resides in Hong Kong. He's truly an international lad. And there's a look at that number 88. And Adderley had a very solid run here last year.
See what DL can do. Obviously got a really quick car. That Merc has been superb.
And right behind DL is now that 54 Pro-Am Black Swan Racing Mercedes-AMG GT3 in the hands of Jerome Bleekemolen, who is rather quick as well. Things are really starting to heat up here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll have it for you when we come back.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Audi. Visit AudiUSA.com or schedule a test drive today. And by AFE Power, the official intake system and air filter of the Pirelli World Challenge.
The car I'm driving for TC this year is a BMW M235 IR. It's an 8-speed automatic and it's got 333 horsepower. From TCA to TC, it's a pretty big change in terms of horsepower. I was in a Honda Civic last year and now I'm driving with BMW. It's 25 cars in the field and it's got obviously a lot more horsepower than what I'm used to in TCA, and I think it's going to be really amazing. Motul has really helped out with my career, obviously by providing top visibility. I'm really grateful that they picked me, and I believe that we're going to grow in this relationship together. And they're all really excited, and I'm really excited to work with them for this season. I really, really love my car. I think it's going to be a great season.
Well, Motul has been a superb partner of this championship for many years, and now they've taken it to an even more intense level, and we can't thank them enough. But now let's get back to some absolutely fantastic racing.
Just to reiterate, everyone's done their mandatory driver change. The pit stop window is closed, so if you hadn't done it now, you'd be suffering a penalty as well. So as the secondary drivers now in, typically most of the guys, other than Dial, they qualified Morad because of his track knowledge and maybe switching up the strategy a little bit. Typically, they're starting the full season guy in qualifying and then starting race 1.
By the way, just heard on the radio that now that they are having a complete lap back up to speed, the black flags will be going out for the 7.5 and the 5.4.
They just cut it, trimmed it too tight. I mean, we saw several, we see Bleekemolen dive in. This may actually be good for him. He could get out in clean air and then be able to go after that fast lap, which will be his priority. Have to wait and see on that 31 machine if he does get a penalty handed his way for that contact in turn 10 with the 9 McLaren.
Here comes the 75. Ricardo Sanchez behind the wheel, and these are just drive-throughs. It's not a stop and hold of any sort.
Talked to AIM Motorsport, and their engineering department said we're nervous about that being in our hands in terms of making that call and timing it. They have an indicator in the cockpit, and the guy can see the line coming up. So if he's too tight, you could effectively breathe on the brake pedal a little bit to try and adjust if you think you're going to shortcut that time. But he obviously didn't get it quite right.
Yeah, and the series, they have absolute new, I don't know, visual aids is the right word, but very, very clear signboards where that zone starts and where it ends. And to make sure everything is clear for all of the categories. And right now, Jörg Bergmeister, as we had talked about, Cal, sensing the opportunity to open up a huge margin in second. That's the key here.
Yeah, and fast lap too. I think Pat Lang had it anyway, but I think Bergmeister just went a little bit quicker on this clean air that he's got right now. Didn't change tires, might have just done the tire pressure adjustment. Didn't quite catch that. But lighter fuel load, and with these Pirelli P0s, testimony to how strong they are in terms of running fast laps in the second half of the stint here. A lot of that comes down, and when Pat Long's got the lead, yeah, you want to lay down a fast lap, but you don't want to burn the tires down to the point suddenly there is a yellow like we saw. There's a stack up, and you're giving it to your teammate, and the tire's like melting on the rims, you know.
Ooh, big move there. That's the number 44. That's the team Magnus Audi, I think, in the hands of Seafried.
Oh, sorry, it's the other car.
It's the number 4, yeah, that just dove underneath Terry Borchler in the Ferrari Motorsport Ferrari. And here's a look at the number 93 real-time racing Acura NSX GT3, and the reason, Cal, is it's carrying our iBox suspension cam, and around this track with the long loads in the corners, those suspensions get a workout.
It really does, and it has to, because there's nothing more demanding than the turns here. These long, fast sweepers, elevation change, you can see that suspension working. But look at the pressure he's feeling from behind the 16 car. Yeah, Halen. That is tough. Remember, those guys were on pit lane 30 seconds longer in the Pro-Am class, so he lost some track position now. Now he's trying to fight his way through.
Well, I think that's a good point. The ultra frustrating thing, I think, here for Jerome Bleekemolen and also for Ricardo Sanchez, as the 31 car is in the pit lane, and I'm guessing this will also be a drive-through. But those are Pro-Am cars, but with that caution, they had a tremendous opportunity, if they hadn't shorted those stops, to now be battling for an overall very, very strong finish. So it's just doubly painful in a way.
Well, it's a learning process.
Yeah,
we saw that at VIR in the first round of the SprintX Championship, and we're seeing it a little bit here today. Certainly not so many cars getting dinged in terms of being underneath that minimum pit lane delta, but still mistakes have happened. And for this team, the De Vilbiss team, something went amiss there. I'm not sure whether it was a driver change or an issue with the clock, but either way, they gave up 10 seconds plus on what everyone else was given as a margin.
I just love seeing all these lights flashing as they work their way down the long back stretch here. By the way, 7th in the Pro-Am category right now, Preston Calvert in the 77 Calvert Dynamics Global Motorsports Group Porsche stopped, turned it over to Alec Udell, and Preston had put in, I think,
move. Oh, that was late. That's Pompelli, I believe.
You're right.
Trying to look to the inside of Johnny Kane. It's becoming an overtaking opportunity. Turn 10. Everyone wants a piece of that now. They've seen it happen. No one used to go there. Now everyone's has a go.
Very rare, yeah. And I'll tell you what, that was tremendous track awareness by two very, very talented drivers, because Johnny Kane realized he was coming up, opened the wheel a little bit. Spencer realized this isn't going to work and got out of it and didn't try and force the issue. That's how you race. I mean, with respect and good aggression and everything, but a big picture understanding there. But anyway, what I wanted to say was, Calvert, just to give him a shout out, had one of his best, I think his best qualifying run we've ever seen, and had a car that was in great shape, and has turned it over now to Alec Udell, who we know is an absolutely superb talent, and now up into 7th in the Pro-Am category. But fun watching here. Now we're looking. We've been speculating a little bit, Cal, about what may have happened in that pit stop for the number 2 Mercedes. Jeff, have you heard anything in pit lane?
Well, sitting down there watching that De Vilbiss Mercedes do its pit stop, the brand new number boards that you see, the digital ones on the side of these cars, it actually counts up when it goes past that 60-second time, and I'm watching it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds up, and they're still holding him. For some reason, there was a miscalculation from that team and got Ryan Dial out a little bit later. What Cal said, that minute 10-second time.
Well, we're deep into the action here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but there's a lot left. We'll be back with it. Stay with us.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by VP Racing Fuels. Our passion is your performance. And by Dodge. Domestic, not domesticated.
Welcome back, everybody, as action continues in SprintX. It's Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in the Pirelli World Challenge Championships. Look at the number 14 now in the hands of Lawrence Vantour. Has moved up, and looks like he was able to sneak around Jan Halen, and that's for a position change in the GT-Am or Pro-Am category, if you will. So Vantour is on the move, and he is one, as you said, Cal, wickedly quick driver. And yeah, so it's Jordan Taylor leading in the 8 Cadillac. Long has turned over to Bergmeister in the 58 Porsche, and then Ricky Taylor in the number 3 Cadillac. That's your top 3. Vincent Abril in the 88 Bentley in 4th, and Dial now in the number 2 Mercedes 5th.
Well, we've seen both Taylor boys on the podium, but normally us together.
As
in the same car.
as in teammates in the same car.
So they've done a lot of great things, but I'm not sure if they've shared podiums in different cars.
Well, and obviously, you know, both of the lads, they don't get a lot of time in GT cars, but Jordan driving with the Corvette team at Le Mans once again, and Ricky has driven in a Corvette at Le Mans in the GTM category.
Pirelli is throwing that thing around.
Isn't he?
Wow, this is a dynamite drive by Spencer Pumpelly here. He's going to have a new teammate for next weekend. A lot of these European lads are busy at 24 hours of Nürburgring, so Kava's not going to be here. Jörg Bergmeister is not going to be here, as we mentioned. Mark Lieb is going to be taken over in the 58 car. Flashing the lights there.
I love it. Yeah. Every time you add another 2 flashes, that's a frustration meter. Yeah. Is what that is. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't look like Estella's holding him up significantly.
Yeah, I'm looking at Estella's fastest lap, an 18.8. And fastest lap, well, Fong did a 17.4 early, so there is potential another second on the board as we see the Aston running very slowly. They're up the Andretti straightaway off to driver's right. But that Audi has just got stretch up the straightaway.
It really launches. Well, wow. I was just watching how it just hooks up coming out of Moss.
Yeah.
It really is getting the power down incredibly well.
And it keeps going.
Right, yeah, and obviously the frustrating thing here is that car, relative to this battle here, is they're losing ground to Long and Ricky Taylor. The Abril Dial Kaffer or Pumpelly battle right now at this stage, you know, he's a couple laps down to those guys.
Yeah. So this is what's allowed Pumpelly, I think, to join this group, because he's been able to run his true potential, and these other guys are being stymied a little bit.
So you wonder at what point, you know, if the team might say, look, you know,
like right now, I think is the point.
Yeah.
Dial tries to go with him,
and I think
Stella just needs to let the pack go.
I think he got the memo.
Yeah. Does Kane get by as well? No, he doesn't. No. So he splits that. It's going to hurt Johnny Kane's progress in the number 6 K-Pax McLaren.
Oh, look at Spencer. You are absolutely right. This is about as aggressive as I've seen Spencer.
Well, we had a disrupted practice session yesterday, and then with Kaffer doing the qualifying, he was walking around yesterday, didn't know what to do with himself. He said, I got here early, I've done about 2 laps, and now I've got nothing to do all day. So that's all part of the deal, though. That's part of the makeup of these weekends, Greg. The drivers have to stay calm. You're not getting the same sort of seat times if you're just in true sprint form. You've got to manage that.
Yes.
And I think that's something, a learning curve for these drivers.
And Spencer up into turn 8. Look to the inside, Dial, and I think, you know, can reasonably say, well, yes, I was covering him a little bit, but I was turning into 8 anyway. I just turned in a little earlier. But Spencer sensing a little bit of opportunity here. And now this group, once they've been unleashed, they have very quickly run down and caught the number 30 Momo NGT Ferrari of Enrique Cisneros that currently is running in the lead in the AM category, and a comfortable one after the problems for the 007 Aston Martin.
See Jordan Taylor there just letting the 31 go, and that's really just great experience. Great experience from the team, just telling Jordan the scenario. 31 cars in a hurry, he's trying to come back from a penalty, just let him go. You got plenty of time, plenty of a gap. Back to Jörg Bergmeister, who runs 2nd right now, but a long way back down the road.
Yeah, the 31 currently 12th in the overall run order. There's a look at the 013 right in front, the 2 Ferraris, 2 different teams, of course, running in lockstep. Then our leader. There is Jörg Bergmeister.
He's got word that the 4 4 team was saying the 2 car was blocking. So Pompelli's obviously been telling his team on the radio, hey, every time I try and make a move, Ryan's kind of blocking me a little bit. They'll observe that.
Absolutely.
Certainly can make that the first move, can't react.
Interesting here, just looking at it. Bergmeister's last lap was 17.4. Jordan Taylor's 20.
Yep.
Like, we've got this. I'm not going to do anything that could throw any kind of level of risk in this, as we are inside the final 5 minutes. And it is time for us to take one last break, but stay with us, folks. When we come back, we will take you all the way to the checkers here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Forge Line, American-made forged performance and racing wheels, and by Mercedes-Benz AMG.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championships at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and we're with you all the way to the checkers.
Great drive by Spencer Pompelli here. Magnus team will
he's
be
been on fire
fired up.
lately.
He really does. He's so solid. He just gets in and it's like a light switch, you just turn him on.
Yeah, coming off of a brilliant win in the ST category at Circuit. Look at this.
Big stack up there.
Here.
Cox Van Toor right behind him.
Tour Jan Halen attacking Michael Lewis in that mix. Look at Udell, cuts to the inside, tries a little different line.
Tell you what, this has the potential to get ugly here. I tell you
does.
what, Jan Halen and Laurens Vanthoor are going to be putting heaps of pressure here on Peter Cox here.
And again, Cox that is a pro program. Behind him, Vanthoor and Halen are in Pro-Am cars. So they've got their own fierce little battle. And look at Alec Udell. He, I think, has just made up 2 spots running that different line up that back straight. He's attacking on Hedlund right now. Or on Lewis right now. Yeah, he went now up into 6th, from 8th to 6th. Well, talk about reading traffic.
Battles all the way through. Looking up ahead, I'm trying to see if Cox has hung on to that lead, or that position, should I say, in front of those 2 Porsches, because they were even, Alec really wide there. This team coming back from a lot of work. They had that accident at VIR to retub the car again. Only 11 hours on that brand new chassis. Just a heartbreak for that team, and a monstrous amount of work, but they've done a great job.
There is Yufeng Hua would have turned over to Alexandre Imperatore in the 78, currently 3rd in the Pro-Am category, behind.
Oh, look at this.
Yep.
Side by side. Here comes Vanthoor. He's going to try and squeeze Peter Cox there as they get up, and Jan Halen wants in on this action as well. Cox to the inside. Vanthoor's going to have the inside. First time here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. He makes the move.
And did it loosen up Cox enough for, look at Halen.
Just under a minute left on the board. This will be the last lap, I think. I'm not sure where Jordan Taylor is.
Yeah, find out where Jordan is at this stage.
It's all jumbled. I just suddenly remembered it's not the Bergmeister car we're focused on here. Is Jordan Taylor is half a lap ahead here.
Yeah, exactly. He's down the road just a bit at this stage. So we are on the white flag lap. We are
Jordan
on
Taylor,
the white flag lap.
So it's not these guys.
Not
I think Taylor's
guys,
behind these guys track position-wise. That's why it gets a bit confusing with that massive lead for Jordan Taylor. So these guys have got a lap and a half to battle it out. Jordan Taylor should have about half a lap.
Look how quickly Udell ran them back down again. Got to the back of Michael Lewis, who's right behind the number 43 of Tom Dyer. That's the team Acura NSX.
Here's our leader.
GT3, there he is.
Half a lap to go coming out of Moss. Whereas those other battles we saw can play out for another full lap. One is down to 0.
You know,
I'll tell you what, for some of these teams, Greg, talking to some of the, particularly the Clown squad, they were worried about fuel a little bit. They had fuel save at VIR. Obviously, we had the yellow, so they'd got a bit of save there, so maybe they'll be okay.
Here we go, Jordan Taylor in the Vector Blue Cadillac ATS VR. A brilliant opening stint by Michael Cooper, an equally strong one for JT, and Cadillac wins at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. There is Michael Cooper, and he is absolutely elated as he watches Jordan Taylor, JT, come by and pick up a dominant win. And some people will say, well, yeah, they got the gift. You know what? You make your luck. And they gambled, and then they got the break and played it to perfection.
Had bad luck in qualifying. It put Michael Cooper at the very back of the pack. He stormed through the field, and then they rolled the dice there, gambled, and paid off for them with that caution under the pit stop window.
There is Vantour in the 14 Global Motorsports Group. Porsche leading in the Pro-Am category.
Pumpelli, he wants another spot. Will he make a move into turn 10? What does Vincent Abril notice this weekend? There's Bergmeister. He crosses the stripe in second.
A great run for them. Here we go to the line, and Abril will hang on to fourth over Spencer Pumpelli. But what a race Spencer Pumpelli put on. Just phenomenal stuff for the driver from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, as always, it seems a race that's loaded with intrigue and developments, and when we come back, we will hear from our winner.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Motor Trend On Demand. Visit MotorTrendOnDemand.com. Start your free trial today. And by TireRack.com, revolutionizing tire buying since 1979.
Welcome back, everybody, and what a race we've seen unfold here, and a tremendous strategy play has taken the number 8 Cadillac of Michael Cooper and Jordan Taylor to the win. Let's get down and hear from them with Jeff Lepper.
Well, Michael Cooper, superb drive from you to put yourself in that position for that yellow.
Yeah, that was incredible. Last year we had a catchphrase of Cadillac Racing, it was pass everybody, and today we actually accomplished that. We had a little hiccup in qualifying yesterday that, you know, because of the red flag we got caught out with the only car without a lap. But some awesome strategies from the team, Cadillac Racing today, to get us up front.
And Jordan, you're able to go finish that out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just pretty much don't screw things up. Michael, I mean, the way the race was working was he passed up to 10th place, and then once everyone pitted, he was in clear track and was banging out quick laps, which was going to get us the track position anyway, but that yellow kind of, you know, made our strategy. And once the yellow came out, everything cycled through. We had, you know, a minute lead, and I just basically had to cruise around for 10 minutes to take the win, and it's great to get Cadillac its first win of the year here in World Challenge.
Yeah, not too bad for these Cadillac boys. Better to be lucky sometimes than good.
Well, thanks very much, Jeff. And I'll tell you, Cal, that was a fabulous strategy move for them to get to the win, but I think it left a few other teams behind him here as we look at the results a little frustrated.
Yeah, I think everyone's scratching their head a little bit, learning the ropes with this SprintX format, and obviously with that 3/4 of a lap lead, Jordan Taylor just had to cruise to the victory in the end.
And once again, 8th overall, a tremendous performance by our GT Pro-Am winners. That's James Safronis and Lawrence Vantour in the 14 Global Motorsports Group Porsche. They're with Jeff.
Well, James Safronis, superb drive at the beginning here to hold everybody off to pass this over your co-driver and finish it out.
Well, that was a rough and rumble bar brawl out there. We had a good, clean start, checked out a little bit, but then we caught lap traffic and I got roughed up a little bit. So we survived, had a great pit stop. The guys at GMG Racing, typical flawless pit stop, perfect timing. Got the Rocket Man in the car, Lauren Vanthors. He just did his job.
Well, thanks very much, Jeff. And they always seem to find a way to get to the front. But I'll tell you, they had pressure this entire race from Mike Shine and Jan Halen.
They were very quick. It was a great battle. They're piling the pressure on those two Porsches, really taking it to Peter Cox at the end. Vantour got around, and Halen needed just another lap, I think.
I'll tell you, it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda moment for that number 75 Nissan. So quick during the race, but not quite getting enough time in their pit stop. That hurt them badly. It's time now to take a look at some of the highly prized specialty awards. One of the biggies is always the Motul Fast Laps, and once again here, the overall Fast Lap set by a Pro-Am pairing. However, one of the best pros in the business did it, Jerome Bleekemolen in the number 54 Black Swan Mercedes-AMG GT3. The Pro fastest lap set by Jörg Bergmeister, the number 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche. And here's a look at some of the other fast laps for the Motul Fast Lap Awards in the classes, and you can see how compact it is. Really, really close field here. Now let's take a look at our VP Racing Fuels Hard Charger Award. No question here, when you gain over 20 spots during the course of the race, has to go to the number 8. That is the Cooper Jordan Taylor driven Vector Blue Cadillac. And speaking of Cadillac, it's time for our Cadillac ATSV Move of the Race word. Cal, it's not always the driver that gets the move of the race in this case. How about the strategist?
Well, Michael Cooper did his part. He skied through the field and then really laid down some fast laps when they carried him out on the racetrack when the other leaders were pitting. But then the opportune moment, yellow came out, pulled Michael Cooper in, got Jordan Taylor out, and basically gained nearly a lap on the field. Unbelievable move.
It was, and I'll tell you, and then Jordan Taylor drove cautiously all the way to the end and bring home a really, really strong win. So Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that look at our call of round 3 of the championship. Once again, as you can see, due to the weather here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, round 4 has been postponed. So that wraps up our coverage from here. And as you take a look now at the current points after the 3rd round of the championship and all of the classes in SprintX, Cal, we go from this track, which is an absolute speed bowl, the next round of the championship in less than a week, Lime Rock Park, which is a bull ring.
It is. Teams are going to be testing there in just a couple of days and then get ready for the weekend. It is extremely fast, has very high-speed corners, not dissimilar to what we saw here this weekend, but it's a bull ring. It's so quick, and that pit strategy will really be a complex situation for everyone, because if you have a little bobble, you could go down a lap or 2 maybe with that 90-second pit lane hold for the Pro-Am combinations. You got to play your cards right there.
Yeah, it's going to keep those strategists even busier, no question about that. We certainly hope you can join us for our coverage up next weekend from Lime Rock Park. But that wraps things up here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. For Calvin, for Jeff, and our entire CBS Sports Network crew, I'm Greg Creamer, in association with WC Vision. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.